Hey, I'm John Cousins, and a very warm welcome to you, as I also bid a very warm welcome to Dr. Elisabeth Bick. Elisabeth, how are you?
I'm great, John. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really good. Really good. Lovely to see you.
Same here. Lovely to see you again.
Yeah, we're going to chat today a little bit about something that I need to congratulate you for, which was that you were in London back in December receiving a prize. Would you care to share what the prize was?
Yeah, that was the John Maddox Prize, which is handed out once a year by Sense About Science and the journal Nature. And it's a prize for standing up for science and standing up in the sort of in light of severe pushback. So defending good science, but receiving a lot of personal, personal people who attack you for that. And so I'm very happy to have won that award. It's just a great recognition for the work I've been doing. And I did receive a lot of pushback. I have received in the past year and a half, a lot of nasty emails, a lot of nasty tweets, a lot of people calling me all kinds of names. And I just try to defend good science. And yes, I'm calling out people who I think are doing bad science, but I wish always that they answer me with reasons why their images in their papers are duplicated and not threaten me with all kinds of lawsuits and things like they did in the past. And I'm very happy to have won this award and know that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, and Elisabeth, thank you so much for doing the work that you are doing. And I know that you've been dealing with a lot of hostility, the kind of hostility, frankly, that would have made a lot of other people turn away and say, I can't do this anymore. So thank you so
Yes.
much. How long have you been doing this work now, the science integrity work?
I started in 2013. I actually started working on plagiarism first. And then after a year, I, by chance, discovered this image duplication in a PhD thesis. And so around 2014, I switched working on image duplication, and I've been doing that ever since.
I'd like to ask you specifically about some work you did where you gathered a substantial number of papers that had problems. When was that, and how many papers did you find with issues?
So I started doing image duplication searches in 2014. And I just wanted to know how often that would happen. So if you would screen, let's say, 100 papers in the biomedical literature, 100 papers that had photos, how often would you find a paper that had duplications within the paper? So I started to do a systematic search, and I actually, at some points, had screened 20,000 papers from different journals, different publishers. And I published this work together with Frederick Fang and Arturo Casadevall in 2016. And in that set of 20,000 papers, I'd found almost 800 papers with duplications within the paper. So a duplication within two figures or across two different figures within that paper. So 800 papers, it's about 4%.
4%, right. And these are papers where there were images repeated within the paper.
Correct.
Right, so in 2015, you reported 800 papers, and one would hope that all of those have either been corrected or retracted.
Right, that's what one would hope, that's what I would have hoped, but that's not the case. In fact, 60% of those papers have not been addressed at all. Only
60%, wow.
60%, so the majority of papers are still out there, not being corrected, not being retracted, and not, there's no way that a reader would know that there's a potential big problem with one of those papers.
Is there any way that we can get an idea of what 800 papers look like?
Well, I do have a spreadsheet with all of them.
Okay, so let's have a quick look if you don't mind.
I can share that. Let me share my screen.
And I know this is kind of sensitive information, so we'll probably blur this a little bit.
So all the papers that I have worked on so far, and it's actually more than 5,000 papers by now, are in this spreadsheet. So this is my my big Google Docs, Google sheet that I have been working on.
Right.
And it has as you can see, a lot of different papers. A lot of every row is a paper that I have found a problem in. And
what do the colors mean on the spreadsheet?
So if you look here in the rows, red means a paper got retracted. Okay. Yellow, this yellow color means it got corrected. And blue ones are ones that the journal let me know that they would not take any action.
So if you can scroll down, Elisabeth, I see that, frankly, there's an awful lot of white in there, which is not
right.
Good.
No, yeah. and a lot of blue also, because basically white and blue means that these papers have not been addressed.
Right. Yes, I'm seeing a whole load of white, which is not good. Let's. I mean, this is an enormous problem, obviously. What I'd like to do is get my head around what one of those looks like, what one of these problems looks like. Would you be able to share something that would demonstrate that?
Yeah, I've prepared one of them. So this is actually an example that I show a lot when I give talks. And I hope you can see my screen here. It's a Western blot. And you can see here a photo. It's actually 4 different photos. So they're labeled A, B, C, and D. They're 4 different strips. And each strip will show a particular protein that was found in a particular sample. So it's not really important what it shows, but every strip, so strip A, for example, should represent a photo of a Western blot. And you might be able to spot particular repeats in here. So there's actually a duplication in the blot strip marked A, and there's also duplication in the blot strip marked D. There's several duplications in here that I think would point towards photoshopping the results.
So even without my reading glasses on, I can see that in row A, 1 and 3 look like duplicates to me. They look like the same image.
Well spotted, John. That is exactly correct. I'm glad you see that too. So you can see the band here. And then within the band, for example, you see this little dot here with a white stripe on top, and you can see the exact same spot over here. And there's lots of other background spots that completely line up. So that appears to be have been photoshopped. Like, I cannot think of any other explanation how these 2 bands and their background can look so similar. You might also see a splice here indicating that this part also was not originally there and was sort of photoshopped in.
It looks like a totally different image, column 5.
Right.
Yeah.
It has a very different background color, and you can see a splice mark here, like a
but
vertical.
You said there were 2 duplications. I'm struggling to see another one.
The other one is in row D, and there's actually 3 lanes of the 5 that look very similar.
Well, column 1 and column 5 are very different.
Yes.
So maybe it's 2, 3, and 4 then, is it?
It is. So it sort of has this lighter little stripe here that you can see here and here. It has a little dot here at the bottom that you can see in all 3 lanes. And most importantly, it has this spot that you can see in all 3 lanes.
I mean, having now seen these seem kind of like blatantly obvious.
Right.
And yet this is one of the papers of that 800 which hasn't been corrected or retracted.
That's right. So I reported this probably in October, November 2015, so 6 years ago. And this is what I would call personally a 5-second retraction or something like that, or a 5-minute retraction. You just look at this photo and there's no way that this is an accident. There's no way that 2 blots could look that similar. And yet I wrote to the journal, and I sent also a reminder 1 or 2 years later. And every time they say, yeah, let's look into this, or we'll still work on that, or I don't know in this particular case what happened, but they didn't actually take action. And so nothing happened. This paper is still out there. And I just would not trust any results. If these results have been photoshopped, that meant that probably the original photo that the authors obtained didn't look anything like that. So they didn't get the results they wanted, I assume, and they photoshopped something. that means I would not trust any of their results. Like if you know, maybe they photoshopped the one of these middle lanes as well. I don't know. It's hard to know, but I would not trust anything else from this photo.
I think one of the scariest things for me there is that the journal replied to you. So it would have been kind of easy just to go, well, we won't bother. But by replying to you, they're kind of acknowledging that there is a situation, but just not doing anything about it.
And that's what happened in the majority of the cases. So 60% of the papers that are reported back then have not been acted upon. And that number sort of upholds looking at all the 5,000 or so other papers that are reported over the years.
Could you kind of sum up how it makes you feel?
Well, I first was mad about people photoshopping results in scientific papers, because science for me is about finding the truth. And if you Photoshop, that is the complete opposite of that. That made me mad. But it made me even more mad to know that scientific journals, which present themselves as, I don't know, the pillars of truth, and we have to pay them big amount of money to have our papers published, or to read the papers, depending on which model of publishing they use. And where does that money go to? Because apparently it doesn't go into quality control, but it also doesn't go into customer service, right? When I report these things, basically I report a faulty product. You would expect the company to then quickly have a recall and set it right. But they're still asking, I'm not sure if this particular paper was open access or not, but they're asking money for these papers. People need to pay often to download them, or they need to pay to have them published. So anyway, the scientists will pay. And this is a faulty product. They should not be earning money based on this faulty product.
Maybe this is the year when it's all going to get better, when the journals are all going to take action.
I know, that's what I try to say on Twitter as well. So I do call out these publishers, and I regularly will present these examples on my Twitter account, showing other readers that there's horrible examples of papers with, you know, photoshopping and other examples of image manipulation, where we should care about this, and these papers should be retracted.
Something tells me, Elisabeth, that after 5 years, we shouldn't be holding our breath, though, for things to magically improve. I want to say a big thank you to you for all the work that you're doing. And I know that you have tremendous online support from followers, which I guess must mean a lot to you.
Yes, it always means a lot, because I do get a lot of nasty messages and a couple of positive remarks, like "we got your back" and "we support the work you do." That just makes everything feel much better. And I know that I am doing this for the right reasons, and having support either on Patreon or by my Twitter followers, that keeps me going.
Elisabeth, thank you so much. And if you're watching this, you know what to do. Get on Twitter and tell Elisabeth that you've got her back.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk again soon.
We will. Bye, John. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Elisabeth. Bye.